Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair. Car booty time again. I can't believe it, these weeks just go by, but that's what it is. So here we go once again. This week I have a couple of PCs that I wouldn't class as retro PCs, like the old ones with AGP, and last week we had Pentium 3s, Pentium 2s. These are definitely newer, so I wouldn't put them into that bracket really. They're probably socket 775 or even later. But I have found that some socket 7.5 with like higher end motherboards on from that era do actually sell for some money, certainly more than the €15 I paid for each of these machines. So let's have a look at what we've got and let's see if we can make any money from this type of machine, okay? So here is the first one. It says Aqua on it. Aqua GeneTech Gaming Development, okay? This is heavy. It has a black drive, a base floppy. Oh, and it says Intel Core 3. So this is after socket 775. I don't know what type of i3 is in there. Actually, for a machine like this, I would have expected an i5 or an i7. But that's what we have if the label is correct. Let's look on the back of it. So there's obviously some things being taken out of it. This looks like a fan speed control. This looks like another similar thing. An on-off switch, that's interesting. Have you got lighting in this or something? It has USB 3, so is that like a 4th generation or something that was on when it came out? Not totally sure. I know some of you guys know. Dynamic 4-gear switching, okay, that's what it says. And it has a perspex side, let's have a look. Well, there it is, a little bit scratched. It's a gigabyte motherboard. I think it says H67, so I think it's probably 2nd generation actually. i3, so a fairly old one. Some rather fancy looking power supply cables in there. I don't know if it's a modular one, but it has some fancy cables on. Let's get inside and see what we actually have. Well, I can see an inverter down here. So this has CCFL lighting in. I can see the light at the bottom of it. This is a 9600 GT, Club 3D, I can see that. Looks like this may have been added rather than some other graphics card. Rather chunky cooler fan. Hard drivers in here. So this is kind of like a fairly complete machine. I think possibly we should just check for some shorts on the 12 volts if that looks okay. Maybe we should just power this up as it is and see if it actually works. Okay, we have the multimeter on ohms there. And we don't see any shorts on the 12 volts. It's not a modular power supply, but it does say it's a 900 watt power supply. That could be handy, I will say. Okay, let's give it a go. I'm not going to put the current limiting light bulb on. This power supply almost certainly has active PFC. They don't like it very much. So let's throw caution to the wind. It could be a bit more dramatic if I just switch the thing on anyway. And let's see what this actually does. Well, nothing went bang. That's a good sign, okay? Nothing actually happened at all. We got an on-off switch. Well, there must be one somewhere, I guess. Well, this one actually doesn't start, doesn't do anything, okay? So we'll switch it off, we'll take it apart, and let's have a look to see what we have. Here's the motherboard. It has a rather fancy cooler on there. You see it. It's effectively suspended on these heat pipes. It has, looks like an inverter to me, so I think this has CCFL lighting or something built into it. In here we'll find out unless it's LED, but it has that with like a control here, so this either is a speed control or a brightness control. I suspect it's probably the latter of the two. 2 strips of RAM, which are pair of 4 gig strips. Okay, it has 2 4 gig strips. DDR3 1333, so that's what we have there. There's a 320 gig SATA hard drive, but with IDE power as well as SATA power. I've seen 1 or 2 of these now, so we have that. Interestingly, the DVD drive was the same. It was SATA but with an IDE Molex power supply. Okay, I have this. So this is CCFL, cold cathode fluorescent light. This is what we were fitting inside cases to put lights in them before LED was really popular. Okay, so that's what that is. That's what the on-off switch was for on the back of it. And we have this old graphics card, 9600 GT. Okay. There's also onboard video on here, so I'm going to attach my capture card onto the DVI connector with just the motherboard, and let's see if we can get this to power up now. Well, it does start now. Whether it boots is another matter, but it does start. We have 4 LEDs on here. Ah, something's happening. And we have a picture. We can see there are in fact LED lights in here. Right, the control alters the speed of the fan. Okay. So possibly this thing isn't an inverter at all, it's just a speed controller. I'll try attaching the graphics card that came with it, see if this is working as well. Okay, power back on, start. Well, the fan's spinning and the fan on the graphics card's spinning. And it goes bleep, but do we get a picture? No, so it looks like the graphics card isn't working. I'll just go to the other DVI connector on the graphics card. There are 2. Again. Another possibility is that the BIOS is set to use onboard graphics and not the graphics card. Yeah, bleep but no picture. Back into the onboard graphics. With the graphics card in though. And we get a picture, so it's obviously using onboard graphics. I'll have a look at the BIOS settings. Okay, so it's set to use the PCIe 16 first. The graphics card doesn't seem to be working. Onboard enable for no external graphics. Yeah, so it's set correct by the look of it. So I don't think that it's seeing the graphics card, basically it just doesn't see it. I'll just load the BIOS defaults while I am here. Okay. I don't think that will have changed the settings we were just looking at. We can have a quick look. No, that's still exactly the same. Okay. Let's save that. And now let's try the hard drive that came with it, see if this will boot into an operating system. Well, I've just noticed one problem. I was just going to attach the hard drive and you can see that one of the SATA ports is broken. I don't know where the outer plastic piece is. It's not attached to the cable, that's for sure. Okay, I've just bent them a little bit. None are actually broken off, they're just at strange angles. We could either try to just replace a plastic piece off another similar connector off a scrap board with the pin still there, or we could desolder it and resolder a new one, but for now it's not going to do any harm at least. That looks like it's SATA 3031. I'm going to use, let's see what we have down here. We have more. Okay, so I think that's effectively saying SATA 0123. So I'll use SATA 0, which is this one, and let's see if it will read the hard drive. Okay. I'm just going to let it do what it's doing. Yes, starting Windows 7 I think. And then it restarted. This might be to do with this mode it was complaining about when we started. So this time let's change it. So yes. See what it does. If this doesn't work, we'll try no. Let's try normal. Here we go. Looks like there's a password on this one. We'll just hit enter and see what happens. No, it wants the password, okay? But the machine's working. Okay, so we want to see if we can repair this connector. But first, I'm interested to know A, is this motherboard actually worth anything? And B, what CPU do we have? I think this has a quick release on the cooling fan. Yes, it does have like a quick release. Flick those back. Does it now come off? Yes. Okay, so that comes off easily. Let's have a look at what we have in here. Is it actually an i3? Well, there's too much reflection, so we need just to tilt it a little bit so we can read it, I think. Let the focus get it. Nope. Okay, we have another method. There. So it is just an i3 2100 second generation i3. Cheap processor, not really worth anything. This motherboard would take though an i7 2600K, which some people like, the nice overclockable processors, and these motherboards of this generation will run XP. Okay, so let's have a look if it is worth something. Yeah, somebody's asking about £50 for one. Somebody else is asking £146 for one. Another one £159 for one. How much are these really worth? Well, let's go to advanced and let's go to sold items and see if any have sold and how much people paid for them. Okay, yeah, so one sold for 51. That's with an i7 2600, not the 2600K, which is the overclockable one, but it has 32 gig of RAM as well, and that was 51, plus another 42 postage from the United States. Any more sold? No, these are all different ones. So that's worth kind of whatever you think it might be worth. I made a video a year ago. I had a look actually, it's about a year or so ago. I made 2 videos, in fact, replacing SATA connectors. So I'll link those to this one. I don't think I need to repair this one just now on video, but I'll keep hold of the motherboard if I have some use for it. It's not a big job to change it. Have a look at those videos if you're interested. I will link them both into the video description of this one. I will do my best to remember too. Okay. The graphics card, well, this comes right from the era known as bump gate. So this was a period in time when a lot of NVIDIA GPU chips are failing due to a manufacturing fault. It was the substrate which holds the die, that's like the shiny reflective bit which has all the billions of MOSFETs in it, to the base part which has all the balls attached to the PCB. And the problem was that the actual die was coming away from the substrate, and this really was due to expansion at different rates with heat and the fact that it wasn't designed correctly. Eventually, NVIDIA owned up to the fact, once it had been proven, of course, by third parties, and I believe at the time they paid a lot of compensation money to big computer manufacturers who were using their chips and they were failing. So from that time, a 9600 GT, which is worth about £10, and we pretty much know what the problem is most likely to be. It just doesn't detect. So I think it's not really worth messing around with that one unless we find some educational reason to do so. Let's look at one of the other machines. I have another one here. Strange looking thing, I'll show you. So you can see it there. Obviously a gaming case of some era or other. It has some beige drives and a black one, beige floppy. So I'm not totally sure of the age of this machine, but what we can do is see inside it because it has the see-through side panel again. And there it is. So this is another PCIe machine, I'm pretty sure of that. Possibly similar era to the previous one, maybe the socket 775 this time. Let's have a look. We'll just, yeah, we can take the side panel off. Okay, and we have a Gigabyte motherboard again. Which one is it? Well, it's a G31, I think it says down there. We can just see, yeah, so this would be something like a socket 775, has a very big, fancy heatsink and cooler on it. Like the other one, there's no hard drive in this machine, so I think we'll take the motherboard out of this. And let's have a look to see what we've got this time. Here we have it. This is a Sunbeam Tech cooler, similar to the other one with the heat pipes. Quite large really for a 775 cooler. Interesting to see what CPU is in there. Is it something that was worth putting that cooler onto? I'm not sure, but we'll find out. A couple of strips of DDR2. Looks like one either has the heatsink on, the other one is missing, or they're just different. This one's a 2 gig. I'm pretty much guessing that's another 2 gig. No broken sockets on this one, at least that I can see. And then we have a little graphics card. Point of view. Not sure exactly what it is, but I doubt it's of any particular interest, although I've not seen that particular make before, I will say. What numbers do we have on it? More like a serial number type thing there. I'm not sure if that is a model. Let's have a look. This might be. Yeah, G210. Maybe a GT210, that 1 gigabyte DDR3. I suppose these are quite handy because they have the HDMI on them, but that's all it is, so nothing amazing. Okay. I also took this out of the case. I think this might be illuminated. We'll see. It has a couple of connections coming to it. Who knows? Maybe that's just a strip, but yeah, I think there's some LEDs in that. We can just try it. And I have this off the previous one. So this is a CCFL, cold cathode fluorescent light. Be interesting to plug that in when we get the ATX power supply. We just plug it onto it, see what colour that lights up. It could be anything. I mean, it could be blue. The outer thing is blue, but it could be anything, to be quite honest. We'll try that. Just for the fun of it, yeah. But let's see if this motherboard actually works. We'll do the usual check for short circuits on the 12 volt first. If that reads okay, let's try it. Resistance range then, ground, 12 volts. And there's no short circuit there. You can see the resistance is climbing up. One side will be ground anyway, that's these two. And this is the other 12 volt connection, so that's fine. This has onboard VGA, so I've just left the memory in, plugged the monitor on. I've put the analyzer card in so we can see that. Obviously I've attached the speaker as well, that might give us some indication. we can see the post analyzer card, so let's just try it. Power on, does it start? Yes, and it's booting, I think. That C1 is often a memory problem, but it went round a couple of times. Didn't bleep, don't have a picture. Okay. See if it'll shut down from here. Probably will, as it's got this far. Yes, it does do. We'll just try once again. Okay. So we can see it's effectively like in a loop a couple of times. It ends up on C1, which would be a RAM fault. I'm pretty sure my speaker is a good one. The wires haven't fell off or anything. Oh, no, my speaker is broken. Let me try another one. Okay. Wired up another one. Try again. Well, oh, I was going to say strangely, it doesn't bleep, but it does bleep. Okay. We'll check the RAM out. That one was kind of hanging half in, half out anyway. In fact, I'll just try it with the other one. Power on. It seems happy now. Okay. And in fact, we're going to get a picture out of it. It did have something on the screen. By the time I zoomed in, you didn't see it. It was saying something from the BIOS. I think it just set a BIOS default, basically. So that is working with one strip of RAM. Let's just put the other one back in. I don't think this was actually seated in properly. Okay, try it. No, it doesn't like that RAM. Okay. Let's have a look to see what we actually have. Okay. I'll try this one in the other slot. We'll test the slot, see if that's working, if this is a valid combination. Yep, seems happy with that. It may be the two RAM strips of a different size. That might be the problem, actually. This time you will get to see what comes on the screen. It's just saying success boot record. Basically, it effectively counts down and then tries to boot. And of course, there's no hard drive attached. Okay, I'm not sure what size this RAM strip actually is. Can't see. Maybe the BIOS will tell me. Yeah, if we put one in. In fact, let's try the other one by itself. This will kind of determine whether maybe they're just different sizes. Okay. Let's have a look. No, it doesn't like that strip of RAM for certain. Yeah, doesn't like it in either slot. Different code, A1, okay? I've just tried another couple of strips of RAM. I have quite a lot of DDR2 here. Yeah, that's booting. So it must be just a problem with that one strip. It just doesn't like it for some reason. I mean, this one will work on both slots. This one will work in neither slots. I've put two of them in there. They're both working. So I think not mismatched size at all. It's just this one is faulty. I'm interested to see what CPU is on this under this huge cooler. Is it just somebody who liked the look of it, or is it like sort of necessary? But what I've just got it switched on, you can see this has some blue LEDs in it, which is what you'd expect, I guess, from something like that. Let's just check those other fans. Okay, this one. I think it'll be better that way around, actually. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, just a normal blue LED thing. Nothing exciting. How about that CCFL? I don't see so many of these anymore. I had some in an old machine, both of mine got broken at some point or other. They were blue ones. Let's see if this one is still working, okay. Yes, no, it just lights up at one edge, the rest of it's out. Oh no, I think it's warming up a little bit. Let's give it a moment. I think normally they just light up the whole thing straight away, but I'm not sure. Let's have what you can see. Like one end is lit, this end is dark. Just flicking at it's making it light up further along. But I'm not sure how this actually is working properly. Shame. I think most of these, as I say, they've either got broken or they've just kind of like worn out with time. What are very handy though is these. So these are the little inverters. 4.88 watt it says on it, 12 volt in, 620 volt DC AC output. There you can see it. I've used these before now to test the fluorescent backlighting on LCD laptops on the old type. You can connect the wires, so effectively I cut the wires off here, put two little spikes on, little bits of sharp wire as probes. I can just stick them into the socket that goes to the backlight on the laptop, and they won't light up at full brightness, but if the backlighting is working it will light up. So those are very handy. It'd be interesting to see if we could do something with a high voltage source like this. We'd have to see if it has some sort of current limit. I guess it probably does have. And it might be possible we could use one of these for something useful, like testing high voltage capacitors or leakage testing of capacitors or something. Maybe if I have a chance, perhaps I'll have a look and see, but maybe you some guys have got an idea already. Yeah, well, you might say, Rich, just leave it alone. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thoughts on that one. So now, what CPU's on this, do you think? Is it going to be something stupid like a Core 2 Extreme or something? We're going to have a look, aren't we? Let's see. Core 2 Duo. Nothing special at all, just a 2.4 gig Core 2 Duo. Okay. What I can do with this, I have the parts here for a retro rig I'm putting together, the one with the socket 775 board, which has both AGP and PCIe. I want to make a very fast Windows 98 gaming rig out of it, like as fast as you possibly could, really. I have a HD 3450 I can put in there, but hopefully one day I'll find like HD 45, whatever it is, one of the very fast ones. But you have a decent graphics card to go in it, and I can put this on it. Yeah, I can put this onto that machine, so that's useful for me. And just on that topic, the other big heavy cooling fan from the i3 2nd gen, I have another machine which is a i7 2600K overclocked again with a GTX 980 Ti in. I use that for Windows 10 on older games, but also for XP as well. I have XP dual boot on that machine. I can probably put the other fan onto that one actually. There's something fairly hefty on there now, but it might actually be better. Okay, so question is this thing worth any money? Although for €15, it's probably worth it to me for that actually. As I kind of expected, that motherboard isn't really worth anything. We can have a look in the sold listing, see if anybody actually sold any of these. Probably went for even less. Let's have a look. Yeah, look, see, £14. So, although then somebody paid 46, but that was with a processor. Actually, probably similar to the one that I have, actually. So, yeah, it's funny that, because other ones affect more money. Maybe they just got lucky, okay? or maybe it's related to the CPUs that were with them. This one was opened, never used. Okay, I'd be surprised to make any money from that, but who knows. The graphics card, well, similar in a way to the motherboard, although somebody put one into auction here and sold it for £3.16. So I guess I could actually likely recover the money. I'll just check the graphics card to see if it actually is working. Well, it's booting up. But I don't get a picture out of that graphics card. Okay. I think we have time to look at one more. So again, another not quite so retro PC by the looks of it. Okay. €15 again. Little covers broke off the bottom of this. It's got paint on it. Although that probably... Yes, it does come off. Probably a bit of ISO that I'd clean up if I really wanted to. What do we have? Can we open this? Yes. Again, 2 beige drives. Okay. Beige floppy. Some sort of display panel on this one. Yeah, wires going in there. Okay. And it does shut again. Right. Once again, we have a window into the side, so let's see what this one is. Well, this is probably a bit more interesting. We can see it's an 8-bit motherboard, and we can see it's a KV7. So this is an AGP machine. I've seen these motherboards before, and 8-bit motherboards have something of a following. People seem to like them. This has a hard drive, and we can see. Let's get the side off and have a look. Okay, this one slides off upwards, yeah. Just disconnect the fan. And there we have it, 8-bit KV7. Okay. I've seen these before, but don't totally recall what CPU it is. I think this is an AMD machine, actually. Let's get the board out, because I want the motherboard particularly out of this one. If it's working, usually the 8-bit have some value to them. Let's see what we've got. I've not had a lot of luck with 8-bit motherboards of late, to be quite honest, guys. They seem to pack up due to the North Bridge, but fingers crossed, you never know, maybe this one is actually working. I think it is some sort of Athlon machine, actually. Let's power it up, but let's just check first for the 12 volts. Ohms range. The wire's out of the way, let's have a look. Looks good. All the capacitors look fine. Okay. As I've mentioned before, the problem with capacitors is not so much to do with the age. It's to do with a certain era in time when a lot of defective capacitors were made, basically. So you will often find boards that are older than that era and the capacitors are just fine. And with boards newer of that era, they're also just fine. So this thing about recapping motherboards specifically relates to a certain era around the end of the 1990s, around 2000 or so, or a bit after then. That's when really, probably the early 2000s was the main thing of it. This motherboard does not have onboard graphics. So I'm going to power it up at the moment. There's just one strip of memory in here. This is how it came. I have the analyzer card there. You would think if the memory tests good, this would stop maybe with 2.6 code. If the memory is bad, well, we've seen C1 is quite a common code, but this will depend on the BIOS to a fair extent also. So power on. Nothing lit up. I'm not sure there's any standby light on this. Will it start? Yes. And it goes past C1, and it's back to C1. No bleeping. Ah, and then 2.6. or 2B, I think it might be 2B, saying there's no graphics card. So this motherboard looks like it will boot up, we just need to fit a graphics card to it. This is the one that came with it, R92LE, so this is a Radeon 9200 graphics card. This is one of the ones which happens to have the DVI on it, so we should be able to connect the capture card to this, and let's see. Okay, power on, start. B went straight past, and we have a picture, so we can see this as an Athlon 1238 megahertz. It says 1200 plus or something, I'm guessing, or maybe they call it something completely different. That's the actual speed of it. I will put the hard drive on and let's see if we can get it to boot into the operating system if there is one on the drive. Okay. Well, the drive went click, you might have heard it, and it's detected it. It's an 80 gig IDE drive. Okay, F1's continue. It's gonna boot. XP. It says you're a victim of software piracy. Maybe you're just a victim of yourself. They never seem to think of that, yeah. That's probably why it says you might be a victim. Otherwise you might have done it. And we are into Windows. Ah, here we go again. You see, obesity started with widescreen TV. That's my theory, because the obesity crisis started at the same time as widescreen TVs, and I think it's due to them showing old TV programs in 4:3 originally, just stretching to 16:9, and people started thinking it was normal to look like that. That's my reckoning anyway. I'm not going to bother looking around at other people's machines, but this is what we have. It seems to have a folder saying year 2007 on it, and now it's trying to load some sort of antivirus or something similar, anti-malware program. Okay, so this one's good and working. Being an 8-bit, it probably is worth something, so let's have a look. Okay, so we have two for sale, KV7, KV7. Look like mine, to be quite honest. £61, £69 from Hungary, was 233, 70% off. Okay, but I think that's more like what they're actually worth. There's another one here for sale, 141. That has a CPU but no RAM. And another one, 85. Okay, so that's the sort of asking price we see. I think this is probably close to what they're actually worth, to be honest. Let's look at these sold listings, see if any have sold of late. So we'll click on advanced, which is behind me. Sold items, search. Well, there's a similar KG7 there, sold for 60. KR7A, sold for 85. Something quite different there, sold for 100. But I think, yeah, that sort of 65, 69 is probably about the going rate for these, which is okay. I mean, that's in pounds. I pay in euros, so all three machines cost me 45 euros. If I sell this motherboard and get £60 for it or something like that, I will actually cover the cost of everything, so the other stuff owes me nothing, even though it's not greatly valuable, but I keep hold of it. And looks like I got some nice big chunky cooling fans for my own retro rigs. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I can assure you there will be a lot more of this sort of thing coming along. So just watch out for the Car Booty on Learn Electronics Repair. See you all soon. Ciao for now, guys.